Yeah, everybody, what's going on, y'all? It's Coach Mike here, coming at you solo today. As you guys might have noticed, Chuck isn't here. We're actually going to do a little bit of a unique take on body image for these next couple of episodes in this series almost we're going to put together. But before we even jump into body image, my take on it and what this is going to look like over the next couple of episodes, real quick, if you guys are watching on YouTube or you're watching the video, if you wouldn't mind smashing that like button, hitting a comment below if there's something else you'd like to see or your thoughts on this topic, as well as subscribing to the channel and turning on the alert button if you guys want to see more content like this. And if you're just listening on our podcast version, whether it's on Buzzsprout or any one of our platforms, if you haven't already, if you want to leave a review, give us some insight, or just reach out to us with your thoughts, it would be greatly appreciated. It really helps us just reach more people and provide more awesome content for you guys. So with all that being said, all the house cleaning out of the way, let's dive on into it. We're going to talk about body image. So originally what we wanted to do was have a group podcast with myself, my wife, Ashley, Chuck, as well as his wife, Pina. Unfortunately, as you guys might know, as parents and just as busy entrepreneurs or just busy individuals out there, it's hard to get all of our schedules to sync up. So what we wanted to do is actually take an interesting, different approach here of first, I'm going to give my thoughts on this, and then we're going to have myself and Ashley come on together for an episode. And then I'm going to ask Chuck to do the same with him and his wife. So it'll have Chuck doing this solo for a follow-up episode, and then we'll have all of us together. So I have some kind of splits between this. So when we talk about body image, that's why I wanted to offer up, not just from my perspective, but also from my wife's perspective, as well as Chuck's wife's perspective, because I think just the male and female perspectives can differ. Not that there's, it doesn't mean there's just split because of that alone, but I think there's a unique perspective there because also both Ashley and Pina are moms. And I think that especially after having kids, there's an important piece of body image that they can even speak more to. But what I wanted to speak to today when it comes to body image is two things. A, how it impacts your own just kind of internal dialogue, this kind of thought distortion, we can call it, and cognitive behavioral therapy approaches to that, as well as how it can just impact your overall choices and this storyline, this narrative we create for ourselves saying, oh, that's, I'll never have X, Y, or Z. Or, I want that, but I just haven't been able to do it, so I'm not going to. Or maybe the first time you hit a plateau, you reach your frustration, you then look at your body and you're like, oh, yeah, of course, I'll never have this. So that's a really important piece. And that's why, again, we try and just dig into these topics because it goes so much more than when we look at nutrition, what to eat, how much to eat, all that stuff. It goes more into when we go into the gym for training or training at home, exactly what to do. And we do have things exactly for that, whether it's our nutrition course, whether it's our training protocols and our coaching and everything in between. But everything that we touch on, from the courses to our coaching, we also want to look at the psychology behind it and asking these tougher questions and looking at that internal dialogue that I mentioned when it comes to what is this kind of image we have of ourselves and what we think is possible based on maybe past experience. So, and I'll be really transparent with you guys. I always was a heavy kid growing up. Like I was not naturally athletic or lean or anything like that. So I, even to this day, struggle very transparently with my own body image and with some of the own things. Even when I was at my leanest, when I was, cutting weight in fight camp at 10% body fat, I always still saw these kind of this room for improvement in my body, and I was just never satisfied. And I think there is something that can be positive from wanting to always push yourself. But another thing that's really important, and that's why we're talking about this body image and how it does impact our choices, is reminding yourself of the kind of journey that you've had and the changes you've made in your body. If you haven't made changes yet, or you haven't, maybe you've gained weight back and you're doing it again, and remember to give yourself grace in that and being able to accept or embrace this idea that you may not be where you want to be right now, and your body may not represent what you feel inside or what you have in your mind, but that doesn't mean you are stuck. That's the greatest part about our health, about our body, is that we have control over the choices that we're making and ultimately how it changes us physically as well as mentally. So much of it, again, going back to that earlier point I mentioned of we'll look at the training protocols, I can make these changes, but we don't look enough about, in my opinion, the mental training that we can do. And for example, like I write down 3 things I'm grateful for every day in the morning when I wake up. That's a great example of something you can take action on, implement into your life. And if you want to get even more dialed in with that, when it comes to your body, this is an interesting one. Being able to write down at least one thing you're grateful for when it comes to your body and yourself every day. So I'll give you an example. example of what I wrote down this morning. I'm grateful for my overall health, the ability to just be able to walk and to show up another day, to make a change and be able to say, hey, I can go exercise. Like I was able to go for a run yesterday. I'm grateful for that opportunity, that my body's not physically in a place that I'm limited with my movements. And now if you might say, hey, well, Mike, I am in a place where I'm physically limited. There's an opportunity there to also look at gratitude of, let's say you have a challenge, you can't run, but you can walk. And be grateful for the fact that you can walk. And let's say you might be wheelchair bound. That's even, again, something that can really be a challenge, right? And again, I'm not saying I'm acting as a therapist here. I don't want to go outside my scope of practice, but being able to look at the things you can be grateful for and bringing it back to, again, this image we have of ourselves. And I think journaling, again, is another piece of this exercise of writing down what you see in yourself, looking at the things that you'd want to improve, but then also every time you have something negative, write down at least 2 to 3 things that's a positive. For example, no matter what, like no matter how much weight I gain, I always remind myself like, hey, you know what? Got good looking eyes, dude. Just as one example, right? And obviously we can't control that or change that. And I'm not saying you should look at if you don't like your eyes, obviously you can't make a change there, but find the positives, whether it's, you know what, I like how, my body naturally can hold the weight, even though I'm not where I want to be. I like my body shape and embrace that and saying, okay, I like my legs and I like my hips. So I want to build on that. And I just want to develop other parts of my body. So that's a really important piece that I wanted to just kind of give you guys as an actionable task, writing down that gratitude and just changing that thought process and changing the internal dialogue and narrative that we have. So that's a little bit of that. I kind of wanted to now shift gears here a little bit more. Now that you have the actionable value you can take away with this, I want to talk about a little bit more from my perspective here and a little bit more into my journey as I've changed and my body's changed, speaking to my experience with that potential thought distortion, body image, and the impact on our choices. So what I've seen for myself is when I'm seeing my body progressively get leaner, obviously it creates this snowball effect of, oh, I'm feeling good, creating momentum. I want to feed into that. And that's why so many of us can feel like if we've either hit a plateau or we gain weight or we go off the wagon or off track or whatever, not, it can be really hard to veer back to where we want to be. And I challenge everybody when it comes to your body image, when it comes to your goals and your steps and your actions. And what I've done is thinking there is no track or wagon to be on. It's all part of the journey of the step I'm taking. And I think of it as if a railroad track is running completely straight, and I'm trying to walk this railroad track and my body image is trying to follow along. I'm trying to change my body composition. If maybe I veer off a little bit, I'm still generally moving in the same direction, but hey, you know what? I didn't exactly go according to plan. I can reflect and have some awareness to that and then start to veer and correct the course. And maybe it starts to compensate going over here, but I'm bringing it back. But I'm still progressively moving forward and taking steps in this general direction. And that's what I wanted to remind everybody too, from my eyes, when it comes to that body image is, at one point, I was 230 pounds. It was probably the heaviest I've ever been. It's like, I will never be 230 pounds again. I've even said, you know what, I'm never going to be, I'm probably a little heavier. I'm like 198 right now. I'm never going to be above 200 pounds. And I'm progressively working that down. So I'm not saying you have to say, I'm never going to be X weight. But remind yourself, if you've lost weight or if you've made changes in the past, even if you've gained the weight back, remind yourself, hey, I've done this before. I've made change and I have discipline. I have strengths. I'm going to embrace that and allow myself to use those things as well as learn from past experience. So again, when it comes to body image, being able to have a plan, but also being able to give yourself kind of some grace and permission to make quote unquote mistakes or not have everything be perfect. Because guess what? Progress over perfection is where it's at. That's what's going to lead us in a sustainable way towards our long-term goals. And reminding yourself like, hey, it's okay if you don't want a six-pack. It's okay if what you want for yourself is different than what society is saying. On the other side of that, I think it's also important. There's a really interesting dynamic, I think more so in the last couple of years. And this is not to put down anyone that's obese or overweight. And like truthfully, like if you look at my BMI, I'm considered overweight. That's why I don't like BMI by itself. It looks at our height and our weight. And where I fall on that chart, apparently I'm overweight. But if you look at my body fat percentage of my body composition, I'm in a healthy range. I'm usually between 18 to 20%, which is again, healthy, relatively like on the borderline of like athlete fit, because again, where my goals are at right now, I don't care about being 10, 12, 13% body fat. Really 15 to 18% is my sweet spot where I care about being and setting a good example, for you guys out there, because I'm living what we do, and for my family and my girls as well. So I say all that to say, it's okay to embrace what's naturally going to work for you. But then on the other side, if you find yourself having this area of obesity or overweight and it's negatively impacting your health, right? Like if you're starting to have other chronic conditions coming up, whether it's pre-diabetes or diabetes or hypertension or any component of that in between, it's an opportunity to reflect. I'm not saying that you have to, again, have a six-pack or be a certain body type, but doing what's best for your health and being aware of, hey, you know what? I'm still an amazing person. And if you like where your body's at, that's great, and embrace that, but also be able to take action what's good for your health as well and figure out those goals. So that's just a little bit I wanted to touch on with body image for myself, my own perspective. Again, I'm going to have my wife, Ashley, come on so she can speak on the next series here that we're going to put out, speak a little bit more to what it can look like from a female perspective after having 2 kids. She's had 2 girls now. And honestly, I think she looks great. And I try and remind her that all the time. But again, no matter what I say, it's going to ultimately be in her mind and what she sees and thinks. So I think that's something, and we're going to kind of pick her brain, what she's done based on what I've kind of shared with you guys. I'd love to hear more insight. So again, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. And if you didn't hit like already, please smash that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more videos. If again, you're listening to this on our podcasting platform, whichever platform that is, if you haven't already, leave a review. It'd be greatly appreciated. It really helps us out. And feel free to reach out with the description info below via social media or email. Happy to answer any questions or go over things, as well as take on any insight or requests you guys might have for future episodes. And we have some great resources below with not only our courses, but our coaching services and free resources that you guys can find helpful. Because again, I don't want financial restraints to be a limiting factor for you guys, and neither does Chuck or anyone in our team here. So again, always check the descriptions. We appreciate you guys. Please share this as well if you're seeing it on social media or you are on social media. Share it, tag somebody that could find some help from this, or share with them privately so they don't feel maybe it can be something that publicly like makes them feel uncomfortable. But I just want to add value. So hopefully you guys are getting that. I'm going to go play with the girls a little bit more and get on with the rest of the day, and I will check you guys later. Yeah, y'all.